Okay. Sure. Just do the live stream. How can I make the quality of my thing better? Yeah, has the camera gotten any better? Can you guys hear me? Sure, bhaiya. I'm happy to see that we can be heard and we are about to go live. I think we're just going to give it another 4 or 5 minutes, guys, so that everybody can get on point and then we can start. We were hoping and trying to see if there was a couple of things that we could have used to make it better for our audience, but unfortunately, we're going to have to stick with the shitty camera that I've got on my laptop. We were trying to first do it through the phone, but that didn't pan, and then we were trying to get struggle. That's the reason why we're coming in a little later than we had originally promised. But having said that, we are just going to start in a bit. So I hope we have as good as the questions that we had for the last two sessions. I really enjoyed that fact. I must say there was a lot of fun and a lot of interaction. That's actually one of the nicer things about all alone adrift on this platform. But it's nice to know that funny kharabiyon ke uh, Ilava, we're back on. And that cute little joke was from Qasim Rishi, who's going to be my wingman all throughout this particular stream. So that is going to be the way it is. Anyway, so please tell your friends also and join us. I mean, we're going to try to make it as non-technical as we can make it so that it's all something new about it. Just a couple of ground rules. I'm trying not to make it too technical because at the end of the day, I do want you guys to understand and get to grips with what we're talking about here. Secondly, we are going to be talking about animation, but I'm going to specifically talk about 2D animation and 2.5D animation. I'm not going to be talking about 3D because that is not my area of expertise. That is not something that I have a lot of strength in, and I believe that it's best only to speak from a place of knowledge and not to just try to act like Mr. Know-it-all and be like, oh yeah, I know this also. So that is not something that we're going to be trying to do anyway. So definitely waiting for all of you guys to get on so that we can kick this into high gear. I've been asked, Arey, what is 2.5D animation? So we're going to hold on to that question, and that is going. We have 9 people watching already. Oh my God, we do. My, and not in a bad way, please. There are no double entendres unless and until I make it obvious, and that's what we're trying to use over there. Anyway, what I'm going to say is that शुरू करते हैं. Or should we? Yeah, okay. So I guess I'm being told by the moderators that we should wait a little while longer so that other people come on. The reason why I'm making all these facial expressions and smiling is I'm also reading the comments side by side. Unfortunately, you guys are not privy to all that stuff. I'm also being told that the video is lagging, or is it just us? Okay. Hey, great. So we have a first question from Ali Aslam, and he says 2.5D is an illusion of 3D with use of light and camera movement. I wouldn't call it quite an illusion of 3D, Ali. I would definitely say that 2.5D is a more truncated version of uh, 3D. So whereas you're right about the fact that light and camera movements, which are absolutely phenomenal as far as 2.5D go, mimic exactly the same way that 3D does it. The only difference, as you already know, is the fact that we use flat PSDs. Okay, so flat PSDs or flat AI files or flat. Okay, guys. So there are certain that we have to be wary of, but we have to basically use that as the thing that you need to be mindful of. But the trajectory is that first you learn 2D, then you learn 2.5D, and after you have mastered 2.5D, if you are going to be a good animator, you're going to actually jump into easier for you to work with. So that is basically the trajectory that we're supposed to be taking. And I hope that also answers my friend Kasim Rishi's question about 2.5D. This would have been a lot more fun had this been like a discussion of sorts, but unfortunately, as I was saying earlier on, we weren't able to rope both the streams because Kasim is sitting in Lahore, I'm sitting over here in Karachi, and this is not in any way, shape, or form trying to say that us Karachi people don't give Lahori people love. I mean, that's just not on. Okay, that's just not the thing. We're all in the same boat, shall we say? Anyhow, if there are any other questions, guys, let's start slamming them down and let's get this session into high gear and let's get cracking on that count. Okay, guys? So, a couple of things I wanted to tell you guys about as a continuation from last session that we did. Um, we were talking about how the groundwork, the foundation for any of the visual arts, whether it is print, whether it is production, whether it is animation, is the same. So I will repeat what I have been repeating in the past lectures that C, 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 R, D, S are going to be the constants that we are going to be using no matter what your medium of communication is. Okay, so that is something that is going to remain a constant. You need to have a good concept, whether you are doing something in print, whether you're doing something in production, whether you're doing something in animation. You are going to need to make sure that your groundwork is properly done. That goes without saying. You cannot basically do your work without that. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Also, you're going to have to make sure that certain other things that you're doing like that, because if you don't have a good concept which is translated into a good storyboard, you're going to make it very difficult for all the team members to do the work as efficiently as possible. Look, guys, the whole idea is that as the cost of production increases, you have to make sure that the time wasted is at a minimum. You don't want to be screwing around with time on that point. That is just something that you need to be making sure of. Okay, guys. So you need to make sure that these things are definitely there. Kasim is chiming in at this point and saying that Michael Bay films have become a mix-up of animation and heavy effects, but very little to do with storyline. And unfortunately, that is where the problem happens. Good effects, good 3D is not the answer to everything, guys. You need to have a sound concept. And strangely enough, the people are going to forgive you if you're not going to be as tech heavy as, let's say, you might want to be. This is also a way to reduce the production budget. A couple of years back, now I know I'm going to sound really old when I give this little pop reference. Beavis and Butthead used to be a very, very popular cartoon show coming on MTV. Now I know I'm using two things that people are not going to have a lot uh, connectivity to. Back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, when I was coming up, we used to have a 24-hour music channel called MTV. And on that MTV, there used to be this really, really left of center, crazy, badly animated TV show. This was even before South Park. Okay, South Park actually got influence from Beavis and Butthead, and then they went on and did their thing. So it was about these two absolute idiots who would basically go and do dumb shit all day. And to top it all off, they would actually sit around and watch music videos and basically pass all sorts of rude comments on it. So the style in which it was animated, it was cell animated, but it was done in a very crude stylization. And that crude stylization was actually the um selling unique selling point of that particular show. Just like the crude animation style is the unique selling point of South Park. So that is something that you basically have a lot of. Also, Kasim is asking me to remind everybody that Mike Judge, who was the creator of Beavis and Butthead, went on to create all sorts of other wonderful things like Office Space and King of the Hill, as well as the recently finished up series on HBO called Silicon Valley. So he's done a lot of projects after that, and he has a real uh, left of center kind of perspective. So it's kind of nice to see that you've got this unusualness that comes in from that particular area. So going back to the animation side of things, okay, guys, storyboard. If it's strong, then the storyboard is going to save you time, ladies and gentlemen. And I have seen this in my own life. I was stupid enough to actually start up this really intensive music video project that I had done for this amazing musician called I can't believe I'm actually doing an right now to one of my besties in the world, Abbas Premji. Abbas Premji is an absolute. What am I saying? Was he's not dead? Uh, he is an absolutely amazing musician, but an even cooler human being. I mean, he is just the nicest person on the face of this planet. This is the kind of guy that I sat with every single day. All right, when I was the assistant vice president of the creative department at ARY News, HBO Nickelodeon, uh, where I was the same. So I didn't have to do shit. I wouldn't do anything at all. Literally, I would have to stand behind my kids and like smoking a cigarette, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's good work," or "That's shit," and I don't like that, and change this up or do that. So I wouldn't do shit. But when I would get home, every evening from 7 o'clock to 12 o'clock, without fail, Abbas and I would sit together for 10 months and we would create that video. Like I would do all the grunt work, I would do all the animating work, animations, and all the rest of that stuff. But he would be sitting right next to me, and he and I would constantly keep conferring back and forth. It's always good to make it a dialogue, guys. It's not a smart idea always to create in a vacuum because then uh, things kind of get a little off. So we didn't kill each other at the end of the 10.5 months, and it took me 10.5 months because it was going to be my first time as the music director, and no, not music director, director of a music video, I should say. So that was the first time I was going to do something that was going to holistically rest on my shoulders. So, I was very, very scared that I don't want to do something that's going to be match the quality of the music that Abbas had created. Because that, I mean, I didn't want to let him down at that point. He had really, really taken a big risk with me. I hadn't done anything before this. And he and I had actually gone and shopped around for directors, looked at some people and looked at the work that they were doing and seeing what they could do. And then he suddenly realized that the surreal nature of his music, he says, dude, the only way we're going to pull this off is, Sharik, if you do the animations, and we can do that because then we can really go crazy. Then the story can be absolutely mad and it wouldn't be a problem. So, guess what? That's what we did. Uh, First, I sat down and I actually came up with a story that was synchronized to the music. So every time the music went up, the story's cadence would also go up. Every time the music came down, the story also had to come into a lull. So this was a very strange experience that I did. And by the way, for the first month, I was absolutely lost at sea because everybody tells you, oh, we don't get the opportunity to, make work the way we want to do it. We always have to do it at the dictates of a client. Well, guess what? When you do get the opportunity, it's even more daunting. So for a month and a half, I was lost at sea. I didn't know what the shit I wanted to talk about. And then, slowly but surely, fighting my fear of failure, I got to a place where I came up with a story. And then, of course, I sat down and I pitched it to Abbas. And Abbas liked everything except for the ending. I wanted hope to be at the ending. I wanted the ending to be such that basically what was happening in the ending should not be tragic, should be hopeful. And that was something that he and I had a point of divergence on. So there we had a very good policy. It's not because he was paying me or because he was my buddy or whatever, so I had to listen to him. No. Either he would convince me or I would convince him. And in either case scenario, if basically one convinced the other would shut up and then we would pursue the thing forward. Now, one good thing that we did in the animation was that every time we finished a clip, I would show it to him, and then we'd look at it a couple of times, and then we'd like, how can we make this better? I shit you not, we must have rendered and re-rendered each clip in that music video 3 times, minimum 3 times. Okay, so you can imagine how much time extra it took. Now, to add insult to injury, like a dumbass, I created the storyboard and then I stopped. I said, you know what, I'm being lazy right now, so I'm not going to turn this into an animatic. An animatic is absolutely the most important thing you're going to do if you want your animation that you're going to be creating not to be a waste of time for you. Because what happens is that when you just have a storyboard, you don't realize how much duration you have on the edit for your bloody work. And what I would do is I'd create these mise en scènes and these cameras that would be tracking and going through 10-second shots where I just had 3 seconds on the bloody edit. So once I went, and all of that work was purely done in 2.5D. Now, every time I was having any issues with my animation, I would always ask my kids, I would ask my co-workers, basically go ahead from that angle. I did not get trained for animation, just as I didn't get trained for production. Okay, guys? But go on that music video. The music video's name is um, Jhoom Deewane. Okay, Jhoom Deewane, and it is by Abbas Premchand. If you go on my YouTube channel, I'm sure you'll be able to catch the music video, and it's over there. And I've uploaded it on. In those days, 576, 720 was the maximum resolution for television, so that's what we were using. And I was like, oh my god, look at me! I'm hitting the big time for myself over here. So basically, that was the push that we were trying to do on that count. Now, uh, let's move it on and try to get to some of the questions. Mahira from IVS asks, hi, I'm an aspiring animator. What are some of the key animation techniques used in the movies today? Where should I start learning them from? So, Mahira, the first thing that I would tell you is for you to master After Effects. After Effects is like one of my favorite go-to tools. Now with 3D, there's a variety of different things, but first you need to master After Effects. Why I'm saying this is because not only can you do 2D and 2.5D animation in the Mira, but what the other thing is also if you do a whole lot of work in 3D, you will still have to come back to After Effects to basically composite, to color grade, to piece it all together. Okay, guys? So that's the reason why I say that the first thing that we need to do is really, really, really learn the shit out of After Effects. Okay? So Myra, get started on Apple. I'm not a big fan of Apple anymore these days. I used to be a real big Apple fanboy back in the day, guys. But guess what? Ever since that Steve Jobs fellow died, it seems the company has just become one money-making prostitute, man. That's all it's become, sadly enough. Anyway, so learn the chain. Basically, make sure that workflow chain is there for you, Pakka, so that you know when to move from your softwares to Photoshop to Illustrator. And first and foremost, I would suggest don't jump into this whole business about the movies first, sweetheart. I would say first start with the television. The Idiot Box is a great learning experience for you. I would say that first start with them, get cracking on that arena, and once you have mastered everything in television, move into a production house. Get into a place where they do a lot of TVC and VFX work for TVCs. Okay, then after that is done, I would suggest jump into films after that, because that way then you'll have a lot of skill under your belt and you'll be able to perform a lot better. Okay, so yeah, okay, there we go. All right. Well, definitely, Kasim. I mean, he says that can we say that all effects should serve the story? If they're not helping the story, the effect should be removed, definitely. In fact, I would urge let's not even jump into the effect side. Crew that you're going to need, whether it is going to be a specific kind of equipment that you will need on the set, whether it will be all those wonderful things that you need for the shoot. Get all your problems sorted out, and then from there figure out on a post level what is going to be required. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a big fan of you sitting down and puttering about like I was doing it with Abbas Premji, and just going at it for 10.5 months. That's just an absolute maddening budget, or a maddening time. Now again, we didn't have any big production houses to worry about. It was just me about, and with passion projects especially, you need to make sure that the deadlines are not going to be shifted back, and shifted further back, because that is just something that's not going to help us in the long run. Okay, guys? So that's something that we need to really, really be very careful of. Also, are YouTube tutorials on animation worth it? Should I start from there? Definitely. I would suggest that every single YouTube tutorial that you could get your hands on would be a fabulous start for you. Look, guys, as students, I don't want you guys waiting for some teacher to give you guys permission to start working on so and so software, on so and so project, whatever. I mean, what the hell is that supposed to mean, man? Uh, we as creators need to chart out our course for ourselves. We need to do that, because at the end of the day, if we're just going to wait for someone to give us permission to do these kind of things, we're going to be wasting time. That's just plain out stupid. Okay, guys? We need to do what we want to do. Also, in your creativity, guys, to give yourselves that special secret sauce, bring in your individuality. Things that you like, things that you love should be definitely incorporated into your design, into your animation, into your production. These things have to be there. If you love music, it is going to be done. You know what I mean? Right now, another one of my students, which is who's doing something that's going to be absolutely groundbreaking, is Usman Riaz. And Usman Riaz, God bless him, didn't want to do anything that we as normal animators were doing, or motion graphic artists, I should say. This guy was just gung ho, and he loved the work that was being done by Miyazaki, as well as other manga animators and illustrators. And this guy single handedly decided that he was going to learn and bring that process here in Pakistan and get to work on it. And it is something that's painstakingly long, because there's a steep learning curve. We haven't had anything like that in Pakistan being done. So, God damn it, that is something that we need to get to grips with. Also, kya bolte hain, the other thing that we should also be looking into, guys, is the fact that start sharing with each other. You know what I mean, guys? This is going to be one of the best ways that you're going to learn. For me, whenever I would sit with my kids or my colleagues, and I would share a new idea with them, they would be so appreciative. But the appreciation wouldn't stop there. uh, then they would teach me something about animation. So this is how we basically increased our collective learning, because I would teach them about how to conceive original content, and they would teach me about all these various different things in animation that I didn't know. A lot of the animation that I learned on the job, standing behind my boys and looking at what they were doing. So it was something that took longer. And in my day, of course, we didn't have these wonderful YouTube tutorials. These came in much later. But when I was heading their media science department, and what I learned from them was that the school at the Bauhaus in Germany, which is world class, world famous school, amazing goddamn place, something that I teach my kids in the history of design classes that I teach. So the Bauhaus school over there will not teach an iota of software. They will always expect the students to get onto YouTube and basically learn all the stuff from there. So that's how they will basically go about it. And that's how it goes. So here's another question that we've got from Yasir Salim. A self-taught animator asks, Dear Sir Salam, I have good experience with softwares and animation, but the only problem is concepts. I cannot come up with likable concepts. What do I do? Yasir, I completely understand what you're saying, my friend. The problem with our uh, Pakistan is just that. Unfortunately, only recently the tide has been changed, and schools have started really, really infusing a lot of this how to create and not just teaching the software. Unfortunately, some schools are still guilty of doing this, that they only teach the software. And what's really pathetic, which really burns my boat as an educator and really, really gets me fired up and pissed off, is the fact that these people will actually teach the same thing at level one that they will teach at level two, that they will teach at level three. You cannot teach animation, the same animation at a beginner level and an intermediate level and at an advanced level. I mean, what the hell? That just confounds common sense. You can't do that. But people do it. How sad is that? How sad is that? So there are certain schools who do these kind of stupid, awful things, and that's not cool. But as I was telling you, my friend, that you need to go into the last lectures that we were talking about, Yasser. Go into, in fact, the first one that we were talking about, the future of advertising. In that, I really, really went in very heavily on um, the concept, the composition, the color theory, as well as research, typography, and stylization. In fact, that's the reason graphic quotient to really be raised. I didn't want it to be something that is going to be learned from them. But for God's sakes, when you look at your influence, when you look at somebody else's work, our people in Pakistan expect you to copy, because this jackass thought that the idea of good design is basically you taking the Gora's saman and basically chapoing it. And that, unfortunately, is one of the worst things you can do. That doesn't make you a good animator, it doesn't make you a good producer, it doesn't make you a good director, it makes you a plagiarizer. And that's something that you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. That's not good. God has given you a brain for a particular reason. We should learn to use it. And this is something that we need to get cracking on, guys. I think that's what we need to really, really focus on. How to take the conceptual side and marry it to the technical side. Now, I have been talking a lot about that, but unfortunately, guys, there is no short end to it. You need to keep doing this over and over again. In fact, even when I graduated from college and I came, you're constantly growing, you're constantly evolving. And as you grow, you stop the idiotic amateur animation side of things, learned all the things that I needed to learn over there, and I'm constantly learning. That's the best bit about it. My learning has not stopped. I graduated from college in 1995. Okay, guys? 1995. That's like an eon ago. But I'm still learning every single day. And that's how life is. And that's how I want it to be. I want to be known as a student for life. I don't want to be known as some bloody master. Because if you are known as a master, then you're screwed. Because what's going to happen then is then you have to hang up your cloak. You have to go into some darkened room and commit harakiri. Because you've done it all, you've seen it all, you have no reason to be in. But if you're a student of design and a student for life, then you've got to constantly keep evolving. That's the beauty of the whole situation. Because life is all about us trying to make us the best versions of ourselves that we can make. So these are some of the things that we need to be looking into. So, guys, what do you all say? Should we? No, I'm not propagating Harakiri Kasim. Stop being a dumbass. But what I'm saying is that should we call it quits or should we continue it any further? We've done a smaller session than we've done for the other two, but I think we're pretty much at that point where we should end the session, I say. Anyway, without further ado, thank you very much, guys, for being a part of this groups of lectures that we've done. This was something wonderful and fun that we've done for Karachi Creatives. If you guys are interested in wanting to learn, that is something that maybe we can, talk about at another juncture and maybe find another platform in which to actually conduct these programs. But that I believe is a immense. I would definitely love to thank us. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it on screen because of technical issues, and we have been having a bit of that lag and diminish. Gradually turn this into a classroom type situation and make it go from there. So, if anybody's interested, or if your younger siblings, cousins, what have you, are thinking about careers in the media, please have them get in touch with me, and then we can maybe take this further. Okay, guys? So have a good time, and I'm hoping to see you guys sometime in the future. Take good care. Bye bye.